Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro pleaded not guilty in a New York federal court today to U.S. narcotics and weapons charges following his capture by American special forces in the capital of the South American country. The prosecutors accuse Maduro of leading a long-running cocaine trafficking operation linked to violent criminal groups. Maduro denies the allegations. Now, the arrest has drawn international condemnation and raised legal questions over the U.S. operation. Joining me now is Washington Stand reporter Sarah Holliday, who has been following today's main stories. Sarah, Maduro and his wife both appeared briefly in court as Venezuela's government remains in place. What did we learn from today's hearing?
Thank you, Tony. Maduro pleaded not guilty to 4 charges, including narco-terrorism and cocaine importation conspiracy. And he said through an interpreter that he is innocent. His wife, Celia Flores, also entered a not guilty plea. Prosecutors say Maduro oversaw drug trafficking for years, working with Mexican cartels and Colombian guerrillas. Defense lawyers said they expect a legal fight over what they called a military abduction. Meanwhile, the United States defended the operation at an emergency UN Security Council meeting. Here is what the U.S. ambassador to the UN, Mike Walz, said at the meeting.
There is no war against Venezuela or its people. We are not occupying a country. This was a law enforcement operation in furtherance of lawful indictments that have existed for decades. The United States arrested a narco trafficker who is now going to stand trial in the United States in accordance with the rule of law for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years.
Tony, Russia, China, and Colombia condemned the move, warning it violates international law and risks destabilizing the region. Tony.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Sarah, we're going to talk more about Venezuela a little bit later and drill down on some of those arguments. Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who was Kamala Harris's running mate in 2024, will not seek a third term. Now, he steps aside as federal investigators expose fraud in the state's welfare program. Sarah, other than a potentially $9 billion fraud investigation, why is Walz leaving the race now?
That's right, Tony. Tim Walz announced earlier today that he will not run for re-election to focus on welfare fraud allegations that have shaken his administration. Here's what he had to say at a press conference.
Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Federal authorities say the scandal involves up to $9 billion in misused taxpayer funds, with at least 56 people pleading guilty. Critics say the crisis highlights mismanagement under Walz, while Republicans see an opening to reclaim the governor's office. Potential candidates, including Senator Amy Klobuchar, are now weighing a run in November. Tony?
All right, Sarah, interesting. We'll be watching that one over the next several months. So New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani, the first Muslim and self-described democratic socialist to hold the office of mayor of New York City, has revoked several executive orders that were put in place by former Mayor Eric Adams, including protections for Jewish New Yorkers and restrictions on boycotts of Israel. Sarah, how has the Jewish community there responded?
The Jewish community is concerned, Tony. Mamdani, as you mentioned, a socialist Democrat, overturned Adams's orders that safeguarded Jewish New Yorkers and limited city support for boycotts of Israel. He also scrapped the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism, which critics say weakens protections against hate. Israel's foreign ministry condemned the move, saying Mamdani shows his true face by lifting restrictions on boycotts and discarding internationally recognized anti-Semitism standards. They called it, quote, anti-Semitic gasoline on an open fire. While Mamdani frames the changes as promoting civil rights, opponents warn they put New York's Jewish community at risk and send a troubling message globally.
Well, I think it certainly does. Thanks so much, Sarah, for bringing us up to date on the headlines for today. These are all stories that we'll be continuing to watch.